So there's a couple of things I want to share with you. So one thing is going to be matching your rod with your reel, and I say it in that order because you first need to know what type of fishing that you're going to do to select a rod, and then you need to pick a reel to match said rod. Unless you're trolling, then you can kind of go backwards. But anyways, in this clip you can see here where this rod, it's a very stout rod, it's a very well put together rod, but this reel does not match that rod. For one, the bail is too big. Two, it sits too far away from the rod. Three, the guides aren't set up for it. Another thing on top of that, whenever I got my reel in, this guy right here, this is the Penn Slammer 4 6500 DX model. I got a little excited whenever I put the line on. I was half asleep, I was getting ready for the next day because I got it in the day prior that I went fishing, and I just wanted to go. But something that may help a few of you is that I noticed once I got out there on top of that rod not matching that reel is the line lay on my reel. So if you notice, nice line, proper line. But if you look here, you see how it's uneven? It's loaded up more so right here than right here on this side. What that's caused from is improper shimming. So whenever you first get your reel, they come with little washers, and those little washers are shims. They go inside your spool. You either take them out or you put them in, and what that does will raise or lower your spool. So in this case, see how it loads up right here on this side? That's from it spending too much time at the top. So that means that the spool is too high, so I need to remove a shim. So now I'm going to have to take off that 300 yards of line. I'm going to have to take the shim out, and all you do is you undo your drag here, pop your spool off. Here, I'll go ahead and show you. Alright, so all we would do in this situation is take everything up. And yes, I know I put that on there before I took my spool off, but it's okay. So as you see here, there's a shim. Now what you want to do is be careful, and you want to slide those guys off. For mine, it's loading up on the bottom, so it's telling me that it's, when it's spinning, it's staying at the top too long instead of pulling it down enough to distribute the line lay. You may have to get you some type of tweezers or a knife to pull these guys off in order to get them off, but either way, give me a second and I will be back. Alright, so do as I say, not as I do, huh? You want to be careful when you do this. You want to take them up evenly. So we're going to pop a couple of these washers off, walk them down, and we'll start with just 2 of them. It looks like there's 3, maybe 4. Either way, it's too many. And they can be a pain in the butt. But that's the purpose of those shims. So if you ever get a new reel in, you don't want to lose those shims, because if you're loading up too much on the top side rather than the bottom, then that means you need to add shims. And that is what will help you distribute your line weight. Now these are 2 of the shims. What that does is just add space as it goes up and down. You don't want to lose them in case you can use them for something else. And it looks like I've got 1 more on there, so we should be fine. But now I have to play the unspooling game, and in doing this, it helps to have another reel that you can just latch up to and unwind off of it. Saves you a lot of time. can see, lines out a whole lot better. And there's a few reasons why you want to make sure that this lines up correctly. One is if you're at an incline, it can cause an issue with having too much line built up here, then down here, and you actually run yourself short of line capacity. That can be a big hindrance, especially if you're using bigger braid or mono, just a thicker line in general, and you have a limited capacity of line that you can use. Like here, I can use 335 yards of 50-pound braid, but if I were to have left it like that, it would cut me short. And this was only 300 yards, I believe, to begin with. But another thing too is whenever you're spooling your line up and you're laying the line on your spool here, you want to keep tension. That way you make sure your line lays snug to the spool, not so tight that you're packing all your line within itself, but not loose enough to where when your line is unspooling and coming off of the spool, where if you have a fish on and it's pull and drag, you don't want this line coming over the bail like this, like normal. And when that thing starts pulling, your line will start sinking into the line that's on your spool. And you don't want that to happen, because it could cause you to get your line tangled up and cause somewhat of a bird's nest. I'm going to go back and undo this one more time, and I'm going to repack it just a little bit tighter, because as you can see, it's just a little loose, not too much, but just a little. And that will set me up for my next trip. All right, another thing I was going to show you guys, something you want to keep in mind whenever you're choosing a reel for your rod is whenever you go to use your rod, as I stated before in this previous video, right here at this point, you could see where whenever I was winding my reel, it was doing this number right here. It was coming in using about half of this guide, and it would slap here at a bad angle. Now this one, it won't do that. This one will actually use the full guide, and it'll set on the guide as it's needed whenever the rod bends. But this rod has big K guides designed for a jigging setup, which is typically a bigger reel, and it's designed for this. Whenever it's spooled all the way out and that line's at a good angle, it won't put that much stress on that line, and it'll flow through this guide rather than slap it and you're only using half of it. That's why you would hear that thud. Snapper. And you don't want that. You don't want it slapping against the guides and it sounding like crap, for one, and two, not doing you any good because you're not using your guide to its full potential while you're pulling in a fish. But now that I've got this guy re-spooled and I've got it on a new rod, it'll be good to go. Like I said, if you guys have issues with line lay, all it is these little shims. It'll fix your reel and make your day. But don't do like I did and get too excited and then, get out on the boat and then you find out you have all these issues going on, which are not really big issues, it's just annoyances. But hopefully it helps when you out there, and hopefully you can get it straightened out. Hopefully you have another reel to help you take off your line, because it makes it a whole lot easier, let me tell you. But anyways, that's going to do it for today. I will see you guys on the next video, and on the next video we will talk about slow pitch jigging, because I have a custom rod being made. I got a nice reel for it, and I have some goodies in a bag to take out and use, so probably be a good video. For anybody that's interested in slow pitch jigging, that's what we're going to do. Anyways, I appreciate you guys watching. I'm Drew. This is Habitual Angling. Until next time.